5 News at Noon starts now.
An attorney out of Fayetteville sanctioned by a judge for a violation of AI use in court. We'll hear from the attorney in minutes. And a federal judge blocking a law requiring Arkansas classrooms to display the 10 Commandments this week. What both sides of the enforcement argument are saying. And President Trump's tariffs on dozens of countries are officially in effect. Economists are saying it most likely means that prices will go up for Americans. It comes as countries that buy Russian oil are facing a Friday deadline of additional tariffs, unless progress is made toward a ceasefire deal in Ukraine.
Goods imported from more than 60 trading partners and the European Union now face higher tariffs. In a midnight social media post, President Trump touted billions of dollars are flowing into the U.S. And he's promised more tariffs on the way, threatening a 100% levy on imported semiconductors.
If you're building in the United States or have committed to build, without question committed to build in the United States, there will be no charge.
They power everything from your electronics, your electric vehicles, your MRI machines in healthcare. So if you think about it, if those chips cost more, those products and services could cost more as well.
Economic analysts say it could take months or longer to feel the full impact of the new tariffs. President Trump is also threatening additional penalties on countries that buy Russian oil.
Wednesday, President Trump increased the tariff on India an additional 25% as punishment for its purchase of Russian energy.
We did it with India. We're doing it probably with a couple of others. One of them could be China.
The White House had given Russia until Friday to make a ceasefire deal with Ukraine. The Kremlin overnight said plans are in the works for a meeting between President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin.
There's a good chance that there will be a meeting very soon.
The White House has said President Trump is open to a meeting with both Russia and Ukraine's leaders. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, the White House.
President Zelensky has been pushing for direct talks with Putin, saying on social media, finding real solutions can be truly effective at the level of leaders. Well, this afternoon, investigators are looking into how a U.S. Army sergeant was able to bring a personal weapon onto a military base in Georgia and use it on his fellow soldiers on Wednesday. The suspect, identified by Army officials, is 28-year-old Cornelius Rafford, an active duty logistics sergeant who was said to have used a personal handgun to carry out the shooting before his fellow soldiers tackled him.
It's our training that kicked in. Mine kicked in, and you just go to work.
I saw the smoke at the end of the hallway, and I noticed there was a soldier laying on the ground, so I immediately sprinted over to the soldier and started rendering aid.
All 5 injured soldiers are in stable condition and expected to recover. While the motive is still unknown, officials say that Radford joined the Army more than 7 years ago, has never been deployed to combat, and has no known disciplinary issues, though he was arrested for a DUI back in May. Well, according to the Springdale Police Department, a crash involving a van and a semi-truck may have caused injuries this morning. How many are unknown at this time. The crash reportedly occurred a little bit before 10:15 this morning near the intersection of Highway 412 and Highway 265. We'll bring you updates at 5newsonline.com as we learn more.
Well, it's a hot and humid day, and also, if you can see to my left, that isn't just a little bit of a bug going by. That's the Goodyear blimp. We've seen many sightings in northwest Arkansas this morning, as well as yesterday, as well, just across the region. So that Goodyear blimp is flying around. Don't worry, it's a bird, it's a plane. No, it's the Goodyear blimp. So we're seeing that outside. But the bigger story is, besides the blimp, it is hot out there. Feels like the mid-90s for the most part in northwest Arkansas, upper 90s, and a couple of triple digits in the River Valley, and that'll continue to increase even little by little as we go throughout the afternoon. You can feel like as hot as 102 in northwest Arkansas. Still feeling like the mid-90s as we go through the afternoon, and then River Valley anywhere from 105 to 106. That's why there's a heat advisory in effect for much of the River Valley. We'll talk more about that heat, the hazy skies. We'll see if any relief coming up in your full forecast. Tiffany.
All right, thanks for that, Danny. Well, a Fayetteville attorney is responding to sanctions placed on him for using AI. The judge said AI used in Tony Pirani's court filings presented false information. 5 News reporter Bo Russell spoke with Pirani on the incident.
Multi-million-dollar fine comes from a jury verdict in what's being dubbed as a hearse-chasing lawsuit. Pirani was found liable for the solicitation of clients at funeral homes by sending people known as runners to find clients for wrongful death cases. Pirani says he had no knowledge it was happening.
I have always tried to emphasize and be clear so that people know that I had no idea that these people existed. I certainly had no idea that they had any connection to this case whatsoever.
According to an order by U.S. District Judge Timothy L. Brooks, Perani violated federal rules of civil procedure when he used AI to create and electronically sign court filings that contain citations to cases that don't exist and quotes of non-existent passages. Perani does admit to making this mistake.
I was completely unaware of that, or I never ever would have even attempted to use it, and I am more remorseful and regretful about this than I could possibly explain. I'm embarrassed. I'm mortified. I've been practicing law for going on 20 years. I've built my reputation.
For much of 2024, Perani says he was in the hospital dealing with a fungal lung infection, which is why he says he used AI.
I even had to participate in a hearing in front of Judge Arnold from my hospital bed while I was in the hospital being treated for these life-threatening infections.
As far as the racketeering case, Perani says he had asked for a continuance because of his health issues. Court documents show the judge denied the request, saying that while Perani was dealing with his illness and that case, he still chose to take on new cases.
Well, Perani says he plans to argue in a formal response why he shouldn't be hit with more sanctions, including fines and a referral. The plaintiff in the case, attorney Jason Hatfield, responded to 5 News' request for comment, saying, "We pursued this case for the benefit of grieving families and the honor of our profession. I am proud of the case our trial team presented, and am thankful for the jury's careful attention to the facts and law." And Vermont State Police have reached out to their Arkansas counterparts to discuss Andrew McGann, the man accused of killing 2 people at Devil's Den State Park on July 26th. VSP is currently investigating the murder of Honoree Fleming, a 77-year-old woman who was reportedly shot and killed on the Delaware and Hudson Rail Trail in October 2023. The investigation into Fleming's murder is ongoing, and no arrests have been made at this time. McGann's next court date is set for next Thursday. Well, 2 Springdale men have been sentenced to more than 36 years combined in federal prison for drug trafficking. Court documents say Latrell Richmond and Lucky Banavong were distributing meth and fentanyl pills in the Springdale area in June 2024. Investigators later found that both suspects were storing drugs in Richmond's Springdale apartment. Both defendants pleaded guilty to drug trafficking charges back in February. And according to the Western District of the Arkansas office, this week, Banavong was sentenced to 235 months in prison. Richmond was sentenced to 200 months. Our results are back from the test to check how much groundwater is under a proposed site of a huge prison in Franklin County. And people opposed to the project say there's not enough. They say documents generated after 2 test drills last week revealed amounts well below what it would take to supply a 3,000-bed facility. The state has already walked back the A plan to get water from Fort Smith, about 25 miles away. It adds to the list of things people who live nearby say should force the state to go someplace else.
Water is just the first issue. They should have known this before they bought the property, but they also haven't addressed electrical issues, access issues on these roads. Who's going to work here?
A spokesperson with the Board of Corrections says the test results are unofficial. The prison plan is part of a push from Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders and lawmakers designed to ease overcrowding in county jails and lock up dangerous offenders for longer sentences. And in continuing coverage, a new Arkansas law requiring the 10 Commandments to be displayed in Arkansas public schools is now in effect, at least in most districts. However, a federal judge issued a preliminary injunction blocking the law in 4 districts where families are suing. Those 4 school districts are Fayetteville, Springdale, Bentonville, and Siloam Springs. First Liberty Institute, a nonprofit law firm supporting the law, argues that the commandments should be displayed because they're a historical foundation of American legal tradition.
It played one role. It was not the sole foundation, but played a role in shaping the laws of this country. So it's important that students are educated on the history of our nation and where we came from.
Americans United for Separation of Church and State represents 7 families from different religious backgrounds. They say the law violates constitutional protections. The group believes religion should be taught in private settings, not in public schools.
If you are a real scholar of history and you study what our country is premised on, you will find that church-state separation is not only a foundational promise in our Constitution, in our First Amendment, in Article 6 that says no religious test for public office. But it is so firmly what the founding fathers wanted.
For now, the injunction only applies to the 4 districts involved in the lawsuit as the case continues in court.